Aloha, welcome back to the screening room in Like Flynn viewers. Today we are going to be breaking down 2024's Roadhouse, just dropped today, starring Jake Gyllenhaal and the notorious Conor McGregor. Now, I was on the fence about this movie. When I heard they were redoing it, I was extremely nervous because Roadhouse is one of my all-time favorite movies. I mean, that is a movie that I will watch every single time that I see it on TV. And when I saw they were remaking, I'm like, man, this is one of those movies you just can't reboot. You can't redo it. I don't even know if you can do a proper sequel to that movie. But here we are, dropped today on Amazon Prime, Jake Gyllenhaal in Roadhouse, the 2024 version. Now, really, this is two entirely separate movies. Now, there are some throwbacks, there are a few little hints in the movie. If you're a fan of the original, that will tell you, all right, this is Roadhouse. First of all, the character's name is Elwood Dalton. Now, the first 10-ish minutes of the movie, they call him by his full name, but then it's just Dalton from there on out. And you kind of know, like, all right, this dude is Dalton. But to say that this was a reboot of the movie Roadhouse, I don't think that's fair. Did I enjoy this movie? I absolutely did. I liked it a lot more than I thought I would. And I think you can enjoy this movie even if you were a huge fan of the original Roadhouse. They're almost two entirely separate movies. This dives in a lot more into the world of MMA and less of the world of like bouncing and being a cooler in a particular place. So, this movie stands completely on its own. I almost wish it had gotten a theatrical release because it was done pretty well. If it would have had a little more action in it, more action sequences, maybe it could have gotten a theatrical release. But it was a great movie. For an Amazon Prime movie, this movie is legit. You will find yourself not regretting watching this movie. Now, I'm going to dive into the plot a little bit. Basically, same kind of deal. We have a washed up MMA fighter who is basically doing these underground matches and doing shady things to make money. And we find that there is a roadhouse down in Florida that is in need of basically a bouncer because they're having trouble with a local biker gang that is coming in there every night and terrorizing this roadhouse location. And the owner is trying to pay Jake Gyllenhaal's character, Elwood Dalton, a sum of $20,000 to come down there for a month and basically clean the place up, get rid of these biker guys, get rid of the problem they're having, and really kind of clean the roadhouse up a little bit. Now, this is a little bit different from the original Roadhouse. It doesn't feel as deep and as ominous as the original Roadhouse. Now, what I mean by that is the villain in the original Roadhouse with Patrick Swayze, you felt like this guy had a grip over the whole town. Like it was his town. It was very corrupt. Um, and that, he was getting away with basically whatever he wanted. And the issue was a little bit deeper. In this new one, the villain is basically like a spoiled little rotten real estate developer baby whose father is in prison. They keep referring to the father who's in prison, but we never see the father. That's one of the problems with the movie. And I feel like the villain in this new movie is a lot weaker than what we got in the original Brad Wesley in the Roadhouse from the 1980s. Brad Wesley was definitely a much better villain. That's one of the weakest points of this movie was the villain. We basically got this crybaby dude who, is basically trying to do a real estate development down in Florida on the beach. And the last holdout is this roadhouse, and he's trying to get that shut down and buy them out so he can open this like pristine top end resort. So the idea that he's going about it with like silly biker gangs to get the place shut down, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And then they bring in Conor McGregor. And a lot of people were raving about Conor McGregor's performance in this movie. I thought he did okay considering it was his first movie performance. Um, if you ever want to see Conor McGregor bare-assed, well, you're going to get your wish because early on in the film when he gets introduced, he's just running around bare-assed in the streets of wherever in the hell he's at. And yeah, you female fans out there, you're probably going to enjoy some of the man-ass Jake Gyllenhaal running around with his shirt off, Conor McGregor running around with his shirt off. You're definitely going to be wanting to watch that with the ladies because it's going to get them in the right kind of mood, if you know what I mean. So anyway, yeah, I thought Conor McGregor did okay, but really, I I preferred Jimmy. I prefer the Jimmy character. He basically took over the Jimmy role from the 1980s Roadhouse. And he basically was playing himself. He was playing himself with his like evil MMA persona in the movie, except dialed up a little bit. He's basically like a loose cannon kind of character in this movie, and it works well. He acts as a probably more of an antagonist than the main villain does. The main villain is kind of a joke, and I don't want to give away any spoilers. This is going to be a totally spoiler free review, but Conor McGregor's character, it was okay. I mean, he did okay for his first movie role. Jake Gyllenhaal, though, really steals the show. I mean, he does a fantastic job as Elwood Dalton. Basically, we'll just call him Dalton. And instead of being like the Zen character like Patrick Swayze was in the original one, it's more that he is a guy who is just super nice to everyone. He is like the most nicest guys. He's fighting these guys and he's basically like, "Hey, are you okay? There's a hospital nearby." He literally drives guys to the hospital like after he kicks their ass. And he almost has a friendship with the biker gang who's paid to dispatch him, really. And the whole part and the presence of this movie is like, don't push his buttons. He's super nice until it's time to not be nice. Now, one of the problems with the movie is that he's nice, 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 and then all of a sudden, kind of out of nowhere, uh, a switch gets flipped, and you don't really know what happens as a viewer. You don't really realize it happens, but then you're like, oh, okay, well, he just went from 0 to 100. Now he's mad. And you get to see what happens when he's mad because you basically get a flashback throughout the entire movie showing what he had done in the MMA ring when he was a middleweight championship contending MMA fighter. And there's a backstory to that with being in the ring with one of his friends and what happens to him. And yeah, basically, he's a loose cannon. And when you set him off, then you just like clicked a ticking time bomb. Now, that's probably one of the main issues I have with it is it kind of goes from 0 to 100. He's like super nice to everybody, not really giving a shit about what's going on, just kind of like kicking some ass and, everything's going great. And then all of a sudden, within a matter of like 2 minutes in the movie, it's nothing really happened that would have triggered him that much. But he goes from, yeah, like super nice, cool dude to literally killing people. And hey, it is what it is. I mean, basically, we got like that Patrick Swayze Dalton in the last, 5 minutes, the original Roadhouse. That's kind of like the last 20-ish minutes of this Roadhouse movie. Now, you knew it was coming because basically the whole movie was building up to that, but it kind of happens without much of a spark. And you're just kind of like, whoa, okay. This dude literally just went from, breaking guys' wrists to killing them. Whatever. It was definitely an enjoyable movie. Is it as good as the original Roadhouse? No. But I don't want to draw that comparison to these two movies because that is doing a disservice to this new 2024 Roadhouse with Jake Gyllenhaal. I mean, if you were going to do a reboot of a movie, try to come up with a new idea, try to redo the characters some, well, they were spot on with this. There are some issues with character development. There is a lack of the Sam Elliott character in this movie, which I think hurts it because that was one of the sparks for Dalton in the first movie to go from that like Zen guy to the super crazy killer guy that you see at the end. In this one, it really kind of lacks that character. There's no character in there. I thought maybe Post Malone was going to be in that role, especially early on. But no, Post Malone is just kind of wasted in the first 5 minutes of the movie. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense for his character. So that was kind of wasted. I really thought Post Malone's character was going to be the Sam Elliott character in this movie. There's not really a lot of the character building with the townsfolk. There's two main townsfolk that he kind of builds relationships with, but we don't see them all that much. They run a bookstore in town, and he has somewhat of a little bit of a special relationship with them, and something does happen that does spark Elwood's Dalton's change from nice guy to super crazy killer, but not in the sense that he built that relationship with them the entire time, nor that big of a relationship to where he would flip the script the way he did. So, a couple little issues that I have with the movie, but it is enjoyable. It is very watchable. I highly recommend this movie. I have seen much worse trash over the last 6 months, and I would give this, if I'm going out of 10, on this movie, dude. I'm probably gonna give it like a solid 6.5 out of 10, which isn't that bad for a reboot of an Amazon Prime drop movie. You know what? Maybe that's a little. Maybe I'm gonna go 7. I'm gonna go 7 out of 10 because I thought it was good. The fight scenes are very well choreographed. The fight scenes between Conor McGregor and Jake Gyllenhaal's Dalton were fantastic. You get some beautiful scenery down in the Keys. The soundtrack is really cool. Uh, that definitely plays a huge part in the movie. Is the music and the atmosphere. So overall, good movie. I definitely recommend you see it. It's free. Go check it out on Amazon Prime. You will not regret it. And hey, maybe we will see they actually sort of in a way leave it open for a sequel. Don't want to give too much away, but yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing a sequel of this movie. I mean, it's pretty good. I will probably rewatch it if anybody wants to come over and check it out with me. 100% I'd watch this movie again and see if I pick up on anything. You'll definitely see some of those Easter eggs in there, especially when he gets into town. Take a look at one of the restaurant signs when he gets off the bus. You'll know what I'm talking about in there. All right. Well, until next time, people, thank you so much for watching. Go out and check out Roadhouse. You will not regret it. And until next time, people, aloha. Peace out.